Do you know what it feels like to become invisible in your own home? Not because you lost your mind, but because the people you loved decided you were just there. Like an old chair in the corner. Convenient to keep, inconvenient to care for. Well, they learned the hard way. Furniture can walk. And I didn't just walk out. I took something they'd never get back, the only soul in that house who still loved me. I'm George Whitaker, 74, widower, veteran, retired high school shop teacher. And for the record, I'm not cranky. Well, not unless you count what happened last winter. After my wife, Margaret, passed, my son, Paul, insisted I move in with him for my own good. He said the words with a smile, but the tone had a faint whiff of obligation. I brushed it off. After all, family takes care of each other, right? At first, it was fine. I had my own room, my own little reading chair. They even let me keep Daisy, my golden retriever, who's been my shadow since she was a pup. The first few months, I felt part of something again. Sunday breakfasts, watching football with my son, listening to my grandkids' wild stories from school. I thought maybe this was how my golden years were supposed to be. But furniture doesn't stay in the living room forever. Sometimes, it gets pushed to the side. It started small, little things. The coffee pot would be empty in the morning, though I'd been the one to make it the night before. My reading chair? Moved to the corner so the kids can have more space to play. Daisy's dog bed? Stuffed in the laundry room because she sheds too much in the living room. At first, I told myself not to take it personally. Families have their rhythms, their quirks. But the small things started stacking, like splinters in a workshop, and splinters, if you ignore them, turn into infections. One night at dinner, my daughter-in-law, Jenna, said, "George, you've been using the oven a lot lately. The electric bill's gone up. Maybe you could just eat with us." It wasn't a suggestion. And eat with us meant boiled chicken and salad, which they served without salt because Dad's old and sodium is bad for him. Never mind that my blood pressure's been perfect for decades. Soon, conversations dried up. I became the guy they'd talk around. They'd sit in the living room, laughing, planning vacations, talking about restaurants, and I'd be there in my corner, pretending to read while Daisy rested her head on my knee. Daisy was my only constant. She looked at me the way my wife used to, as if I still mattered. But the real crack came on a Saturday morning. Paul came into my room without knocking, arms crossed. "Paul, Dad, Jenna, and I have been talking. We think you should start paying rent. You know, to help with expenses." Me? Rent? "Paul, I gave you the down payment for this house." "Paul, that was years ago. Things change. You've still got your pension, right?" I wanted to tell him where he could shove that request. But instead, I just nodded, my throat tight. Later, I overheard Jenna on the phone. "It's like having a tenant we can't evict. If it wasn't for Daisy, I'd..." She trailed off when she saw me standing in the doorway. I didn't say a word. I just patted Daisy's head and walked away. But inside, something started burning. The burn turned to flame 2 weeks later when they left me home alone without warning. They'd taken the kids to Disney for a family trip. No mention to me. No invite. Not even a, "We'll be gone a week." Just gone. And you know who was gone too? Daisy. They'd boarded her at a kennel without asking me. I sat there in that silent house, staring at the empty dog bed in the laundry room, and I realized they didn't see me as family. They didn't even see me as a person. I was a chair, a lamp, a piece of furniture that took up space, but could be moved, used, or ignored at their convenience. That's when I decided, furniture can walk. And when I did, I wouldn't walk out empty-handed. When they came back from Disney, I didn't ask how the trip was. I didn't ask about the rides, or the weather, or how much fun the kids had. I just went to the kennel to get Daisy. She ran to me the moment she saw me, tail wagging like I was the only soul on earth who mattered. And in that moment, I made up my mind. I was leaving. Not just leaving, leaving in a way they'd never forget. The thing about being treated like furniture? People stop noticing you're in the room. And when people stop noticing, you can hear a lot more than you should. Over the next few weeks, I kept my mouth shut and my ears open. Paul complained about work. Jenna griped about bills. They both whined about how much taking care of Dad was costing them. They didn't know I was quietly packing my things, a box here, a bag there, taking them down to my old workshop in the basement. My tools were still there, neatly organized, untouched since I moved in. That basement became my war room. I also started making a list. The pension payments still coming into my account. The vintage coins I'd collected over 40 years. The life insurance payout Margaret had left me, sitting in a separate bank account they didn't know about. And, of course, Daisy. One night, Jenna slipped and said the thing that set the final nail in the coffin. We were sitting in the living room, and she was scrolling on her phone. She turned to Paul and said, "Once we sell Dad's old house, we can finally redo the kitchen." My old house. The house Margaret and I had built from the ground up. The house they still hadn't told me they were planning to sell. I felt my face go hot. My jaw clenched. I wanted to shout, to slam my fist on the table. But instead, I just smiled. Because suddenly, I knew exactly how I was going to leave. I started by calling an old friend from the Legion, Frank. Frank runs a small moving company, and he owed me a favor from back in '92 when I bailed him out of a nasty car trouble situation. I told him, "Frank, I'm cashing in that favor. I need a truck, 2 men I can trust, and I need them here at 5 a.m. on a Saturday. Quiet as church mice." Next, I called my lawyer, the same one who helped me write my will after Margaret passed. I told him to take my old house off the market, permanently, and transfer it into a trust with my granddaughter Emily as the sole beneficiary. Emily, bless her heart, was the only one in that house who treated me like a human being. Then I went to the bank and moved every cent from my joint account with Paul into my private account. Legally mine, all above board, but it would be gone before they noticed. For weeks, I acted like nothing had changed. I nodded along to their boring dinner conversations. I let them forget to make me coffee. I listened as they joked about Dad's quirks, like I wasn't even there. But inside, I was counting down the days. It was still dark when my alarm went off. 4:30 a.m. on a Saturday. I slid out of bed, heart pounding but steady. Daisy lifted her head, ears perked, sensing something big was happening. "Come on, girl," I whispered. "We're going home." By 4:45, I'd loaded my last box into the basement. Frank's truck rolled up at exactly 5 a.m., its headlights off until it stopped in front of the house. 2 of his guys hopped out, both wearing work gloves and quiet smiles. "Frank." "Morning, George. Let's make this quick." Me. Quick and clean. Nothing broken. Nothing left behind I care about. We started with the important stuff. My tools, my coin collection, my books, my old armchair, and Daisy's bed. Everything else? They could keep it. Let them have the furniture. I was taking my life. By 6 a.m., the truck was loaded. I stood in the hallway, looking at the silent house. Photos of the kids on the wall. A half-folded blanket on the couch. Jenna's coffee mug sitting on the counter. For a second, I almost felt guilty. Almost. Then I remembered the Disney trip. The rent request. The kennel. The tenant we can't evict. And the guilt turned into something else. Something lighter. I walked into Paul and Jenna's bedroom. They were still asleep, tangled in the sheets. I placed a sealed envelope on Paul's nightstand. Inside was a simple note. "Furniture can walk. And sometimes, it takes the dog." No threats. No anger. Just the truth. By 6:15, Daisy and I were in the cab of the truck, pulling away. I didn't look back. Not once. We drove straight to my old house, my real home, the one Paul thought he'd get to sell. The front porch looked exactly the same. The moment I unlocked the door, Daisy bolted inside, tail wagging, like she knew she was finally free again. It took them until noon to call me. Paul's voice was sharp. "Paul. Dad. Where are you? What the hell is going on?" Me. "Oh, I'm fine, son. Just back in my own place. You know, the one you were planning to sell." Paul. "You can't just." Me. "I can. I did. And before you try anything, talk to my lawyer." Jenna tried next, all fake sweetness. "Jenna, George, this is a big misunderstanding. We were just trying to help." Me. "Furniture doesn't need help, Jenna. And I'm not furniture." Then I hung up. Blocked both numbers. Within a week, word spread through the family. Some called me stubborn. Others called me brilliant. Emily came to visit, bringing pie, and told me she was proud. That meant more than anything. I spent my mornings in my workshop again, my afternoons walking Daisy, and my evenings reading in my armchair. Not in a corner, but right by the window, where the sunlight could find me. A few nights later, I sat on my porch with Daisy curled at my feet, a mug of real coffee in my hands. Strong, with sugar, just the way I like it. The air smelled like freedom. Or maybe that was just fresh-cut grass and the neighbor's barbecue. Either way, it was mine. And I started thinking, people assume that when you get old, you lose your spark, that you stop wanting control over your own life, that you'll settle for whatever scraps of attention they give you because, well, you're lucky to have anyone at all. But here's the truth. We don't stop being people when we get gray hair. We don't stop having pride when our backs ache. And we sure as hell don't have to live as someone else's furniture. Do I regret it? No. Not for a second. Did it hurt to walk away from my own son? Yeah. But you can't miss something that's already gone. And I'd already lost him, the moment he stopped seeing me as dad and started seeing me as a burden. So here's my question for you, folks watching. If your own family treated you like furniture, if they stripped away your dignity and made you feel invisible, would you stay? Or would you walk, and maybe take the one thing they still cared about, just to remind them you could? Never underestimate someone just because they're quiet. Quiet doesn't mean weak. Quiet means planning. And one day, furniture gets up and walks out the door. If you stuck with me till the end, you probably know what I'm gonna say, but it matters. Hit that like button so Daisy and I know you're out there. Subscribe so you don't miss the next story. And share this video with someone who needs to be reminded that no matter how old you are, you can still stand up and walk away. This is George, signing off from my porch with my best girl by my side, and a life that's finally mine again.